Hi, I'm Shannon from Dubb, and I'm here with Felicia Miller Johnson. And this is an action event. This is an Action Online Summit event. And this is really all about highlighting visionary stories and business leaders. So, Felicia, take it away. Just kind of introduce yourself and what you're going to be sharing with us today.
Aloha. So nice to be with you, Shannon, and those for you that are watching. So today we are talking about living smart. How many of you have heard the phrase work smarter, not harder? But what I heard is live smart. And so today I just want to share a couple tips of what that looked like for me. So I used to be impacted by work-life stress and imposter syndrome. I grew up with the expectations that you have to be smart all the time, be on your A game all the time. Then add to that the complexities of becoming a wife, becoming a mother, and having to do it all correct. And so I was stressed out. And so I was like, I had this come to Jesus moment. I was like, okay, I got to do this better, right? I don't want this to be hard. So here's how I began to live smart. And hopefully there'll be some tips for you as well. So, number one, see yourself and awaken. So, see yourself means who are you? Awaken to who you are. Many times we really don't have a clue. And one of the ways that you can begin doing that is look up your name. So, my name means happy. Now, there was a time that I'm sure you guys probably have heard it, that phrase, by Felicia, and that was like irritating me because in the movie Friday, she was being like dismissed. And so I was like, I don't want to be dismissed, disregarded. And so, but I took the power back in my name and was like, oh, usually when people are saying this, they're just wanting to relate to me and that they are coming from a happy place. And they are literally saying, bye, happy. So I encourage you, look up the meaning of your name and then see how that plays out into your day-to-day actions. Now, let's talk about the M. Master your emotions. Like my tendency used to be, I would squash my emotions. And if I got time for that, let's just get focused, get the job done. Let's just go from there. And the only emotion you may have gotten was like anger and frustration. But that was even limited just because of the stereotypes that if you're watching this, you didn't want to be labeled the angry Black woman. So I had to figure out ways to be able to release that, to live into my emotions. And so the task for you would be is how are you feeling? Like really ask yourself and put an emotion word to it versus a situation. And what I mean by that is that I'm frustrated, angry, bored, words like that. Like give it a real meaning to that word. And you can do that in the moment. Just simply ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? And define that. And then continue to do that, and that will allow you to master your emotions. Then the next one is ask, believe, and receive. So one of the things that I realized is like, what are you asking for? Many times it's, what do you want? Now, I would challenge you to say, many times people will tell you what they don't want. I don't want this or I don't want that, versus in speaking in terms of what you do want. That will project you to get to you to the point of what you will receive later on. And what's a way that you can do that? Write it down. We're gonna take it back old school. How many of you wrote a Christmas, list? You're like, oh, I'm asking, this is what I want. And you wrote it down. And then you were believing for it, like, yes, it's gonna come, it's gonna come. You had good thoughts about it, right? Cut out little pictures, put it up for your parents to see, like, this is what I want, and also that you can receive. Well, use those same principles today. What is it that you want? Write that down. That could be on a vision board or something else that displays what it is that you want. But the main point is think about what it is. Ask, believe, and then receive it. The next thing that I had to do was to learn to shout out to those that have watched A Different World, and it is the relax, relate, and release. A girl was busy doing. I would do, but I was not a human being. And so what I had to do was learn to be present in that moment. And that means for me, like meditation. And that could be different forms. Yes, it could be sitting still, doing a mudra, and just, breathing. But it also can be, moving around, playing your favorite song, breathing in through that moment. So one example I'll give you that you can do is what I call the Aloha Breath. I used to live in Hawaii, so I still have my little Hawaii spirit. And what I think about is aloha, breathing in through your nose, and literally breathing out of that to release that. So again, aloha breath, breathe in, breathe out. So aloha definitely has many meanings to it other than just hi and bye, but it actually means to be present, to have a breath. And so that's one of the ways that I would to relax, relate, and release some things. And then finally, I had to learn how to talk wisely. And that means talking to myself in my head and the words that I was saying out of my mouth. Let's go to the school of Yoda. Star Wars fans, okay? Try. No. Do or do not. There is no try. And so I want you to start thinking about what are the words that you're using in your everyday vocabulary. So let's take in the word for try. So try literally means when you look that up, you look it up as well, that it says difficult to endure, stressful. So when you put something on that, oh, I'm trying to go to school, or I'm trying to lose weight, or I'm trying to get a new car, or I'm trying to do better. Like you are speaking struggle, strain into that. But instead, use words that are more empowering. But you got to start with what are you saying? So, like, there's try, there's I can't. How about this one? Tap into your emotions after you say it from before. I should. Is that really empowering? How do you feel when you say I should? So these are all things that in the moment, day to day, because I'm about the practical, is that how do I remember? And for me, it's that live smart. And so I encourage you to do some of those tips in order to help you to live more smart instead of working harder or working smarter, rather live smart. So be encouraged. Uh-oh, I don't hear you. I don't hear you, Shannon.
Oh, there we go. I'm back. Thank you so much for that. That was a really, really amazing talk. And I have a few questions, because there's so many times in our day to day that we're so caught up with the work that we're doing, with maybe that task that we're trying to complete, that we don't have that room to master your emotions, to relax, relate, release these things you just went through that are so important. Like, I personally, I feel like every time these action events, I learn so much, but especially this one, I feel this is like really important. And they're almost things that sometimes go overlooked, especially in business. So what would you say to like business people, and maybe they're, leaders, especially like leaders on teams, and you see, people on your team going through maybe is it struggles at work, or maybe, because of course we're full people. So what you're doing at work sometimes is affected by things you're going through, or global situations that might be happening, or a variety of factors. So how can we work with our teams to relax, relate, and release, in your opinion?
So absolutely. So that's how it was for me. Like you said, it's like, how do you take the theory and put that practically in the day to day? And it's definitely coming from the business world, something that we can do. So there is something important to that. So it's taking the steps. So pick something, start somewhere. Now I went to the order of seeing the smart, but like, for example, your boss just came in and just threw some other little deadline on your desk, and you like, I was really wanting to go to this other event right after work, and now I got to deal with this, right? So it's like that breath is just simply breathe in, breathe out. And then like that will give you enough space to be like, okay, how am I going to talk wisely? How am I going to respond? Or follow up with, what am I really feeling in this moment? Is it really bothering me that I'm being asked to do this at the last minute, or the way they said it, the way they asked me, or how they asked me? Or is it just like, I really wanted to go do something else, right? So it's just take one of those steps, learn those general principles, and then put it in that moment. But I would probably say the very first one, if nothing else, is to just pause, breathe in, remember smart, and pick one of those things and then reply accordingly from that.
Thank you. That's some really great tips. And you're in the coaching space. I really wanted to ask you. We like to keep these action events nice, and we'll probably end at 15 minutes. But we have a few more minutes to ask you some questions. Also, if you're on the live stream, feel free to ask any questions.
Yes.
But in the coaching space, what's the biggest challenge you find with pushing people over that final barrier? Because usually there's something big. There's a goal you want to have, especially if you're getting it and I think we all have goals. We could all probably use some coaching, but with your experience specifically, what have you seen are those big hurdles, and how could or maybe the biggest hurdle, and how can we overcome that to get us on a place of growth for our business and personally as well?
Yep, imposter syndrome.
Oh wow, that's a good one. Yeah.
Because it's like you have this goal, you want to do that, but there is that little voice that tells you, you really can't do that. So that struggle in there can't. And so then you start thinking like, well, maybe not. And so those are the things that delay you, the self-sabotage. Or even if you achieve the goal, you disregard the success. Shannon, I saw your video. It was so great how you put all that together. And you're thinking, if you only knew I took like 5 times to make that segment, or I had to ask somebody to do something no. It's like, and that's like one of the tips that I say, imposter syndrome. Pause and say thank you. But that is like one of the biggest hangups for people achieving their goals is the self-doubt, which is all connected to the imposter syndrome, the doubt, and all of that. So, having some tips to overcome that as well helps people to be able to achieve their goals. But that's the biggest thing that I see.
That's interesting. And because when you go on video too, I see that where a lot of people who might have not gone and started recording videos, we see that a lot because we allow people to send videos and make them actionable. So when sometimes new users sign up, they turn on the camera, their webcam, and maybe the lighting isn't perfect, or it's not, there's a backlit, the window's behind them, and they look at the webcam and they're like, oh gosh, like this is too much. I have to turn off the camera, and it's understandable, and it's coming from, and then you can get over if you can get the nice lighting and which is actually, usually you can just use natural light. We always say it's really not about the gear that you have. It's about just, getting the natural light. And even once you get to that point, then you have to start talking and getting your thoughts out there. And there's that next level of more than just the visual and the audio quality. Then it's like, what you're saying is true? And that's the imposter syndrome that you're talking to. And I think that ties in too with the visual in an interesting way. So it's almost like a chicken and egg problem. You have to if you overcome the imposter syndrome, you're able to overcome your comfortability being on camera. So these tips are really, I think, really helpful for our community and people who are trying to be on video. When did you how do you use video? I'm curious, is this something, do you think there's especially, and I guess there's 2 questions. The first one is how do you use video? And the second one, if someone's trying to get into video, how can they maybe overcome imposter syndrome?
Yeah, so I absolutely do use video. I love Dubb. And for example, one of the ways that I use it with coaching is that we're busy, right? And so some of the times when you're giving clients and you're like, okay, well, how do I, match my schedule with your schedule and getting together? And so one of the creative ways that I came up with using video was like with Dubb, I was like, okay, hey, here's what we do. You hit that record button. You don't have to download any software. Tell me what's kind of going on, what the struggle is, what you're experiencing. And then in return, I will do, intuitive card coaching with them and send them back on the video. So we're not constrained by these times of we have to come together in person always. So that's one of just the new services that I provide with my coaching is record a video, you get your message back, and we communicate, that way. And one of the ways of just getting out of your way about the video is explore what it is that you're feeling. Back to the master of the emotions. What is it about the video Is it the fact that you look at it and you don't like the way that you look on camera? Did someone tell you when you were young, like, oh, your eyes are not, centered, or whatever the case may be? Or, are you feeling like, oh, I need to lose 20 pounds, right? And so it's like, really explore, ask yourself those questions to be like, what is it really about the video? Is it the technology? Like, I have to admit that I'm not as fluent with this and don't really know what I'm doing and need some help. So really explore what those questions are that will stop you, that will cause your imposter to show up and tell you that, pump the brakes, do something different, something like that. So yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for joining us on this action event. Where can people find you and find your brand and your business, and also your any kind of social media you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So reach out to me at sevenfoldcoaching.com. That's my website. Check out that. You can also get a free video from me there. But then I am also thoroughly engaged on LinkedIn. So feel free to connect with me there. And then when you do, put hashtag, Dubb Action. So I'll know that you liked this.
Awesome. Awesome. This has been so fun. Thank you so much for joining us on today's Action Summit. Thank you, Felicia. This has been a great talk, and we'll catch you next time. This has been Shannon from Dubb. Farewell, everyone. Bye-bye.
Aloha.
Aloha.